Elvis is the new biopic film about the famous singer and performer, directed by the guy that gave us The Great Gatsby. But how was the film? Elvis Presley becomes the first rock and roll star and changes the world with his music. You know me, I love a good biopic that is done right, that is tasteful, so I was excited for an Elvis biopic because I've never seen one before, but I had some concerns because of the director, Baz Luhrmann. I think I'm saying his name right, but I always get names wrong, so we'll just call him Baz. I haven't really liked any of Baz's films. I know a lot of people love that Great Gatsby film. For me, I just didn't really like it. I just thought he was throwing all this bullshit on screen, like he was just trying to show off his style without telling a good story. So I was scared that that was going to happen with this Elvis biopic. And Elvis Presley is one of the most famous singers, performers ever. So if you're going to make a biopic, I think you got to be careful. And they took a big risk picking Baz to direct this film. And how did he do? I will say I really enjoyed Elvis, but my fears were somewhat warranted because his style gets in the way sometimes. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, I'm going to be blunt. It gets in the way sometimes. When this movie opens up and how things are thrown at you on screen and there's a voiceover and things are just flying over the fucking place, I literally go, oh my god, I'm going to have a headache for the next 3 hours. Because this movie is like 3 hours long. I'm like, dear God, help me. But luckily, it's not as crazy as The Great Gatsby or anything like that throughout the rest of the film. There are parts where the style does get in the way and it's distracting. I'm like, come on, you don't have to throw all this on screen. It's distracting to this overall really interesting story about Elvis Presley. And I think the style of it actually gets in the way with the overall storytelling of this film because there are times where I feel like something really dramatic happens and the movie just cuts really fast. There's like another transition. We gotta get to this other thing. It feels like there's so much shit just being thrown at you. The movie needs to slow down and breathe. And there are moments when that happens, where the film takes its time to draw out some of the dramatic things that are happening. And it's great. I'm not going to say good, I'm not going to say fine. It's great. There are some great moments in this film when they actually slow down and let the film breathe a little bit. And that's why I did enjoy Elvis, because there are some really amazing moments in here. And a lot of that has to do with the performance of Austin Butler. He is outstanding here. His performance on stage, his singing, the emotional moments, they're all great. And it really elevates everything that's happening in this film. But like I said, when things actually slow down and the audience gets to process some of these dramatic things happening, that's when the film really shines. And Austin Butler and his performance and all that. I get maybe why you want everything to be fast-paced and crazy, because that's what Elvis's life was basically like. But I think there's some basic elements of storytelling where you have to let things draw out a little bit, give it a little bit of time so our audience can react to it. I won't say much because a lot of it would be spoilers, but there are some things that I feel like happen way too quickly. And I get it because this movie's already 3 hours long. There's a lot they gotta tell. But I feel like those are the moments you really need to let the movie breathe. And there are other moments where you could just have things happen really quickly and fast. To sum this all up, I would say it's about 50-50. I think Baz's style sometimes gets a little too distracting, but then there are some really great moments in here where I feel like Baz actually does a great job directing the scenes, some of the scenes on stage and things like that. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I need to talk about Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks is a legend. He is one of my favorite actors of all time. No question. I didn't like him here, guys. I know. I thought his performance was just distracting and just a little ridiculous. I don't know what this Tom Parker guy was like in real life. I have no idea. Maybe Tom Hanks nailed it. But for me, it just felt like Tom Hanks was doing an impersonation of someone that's Dutch. And it just came off as distracting, as I said. And there were so many scenes where I was actually laughing, but I don't know if that's what they're kind of going for, because he is kind of like a goofy guy, and if you could watch the trailer, you can tell that he's kind of the villain in this movie. But my God, I never thought I wouldn't like a Tom Hanks performance in such a big film like this, especially like a biopic film like this. For me, maybe I'm the only one. I didn't really like his performance. He did a good job of playing like a dickhead. Like, I hated his character, but his performance, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. I think they do a really great tribute to Elvis. There's some great moments with that. Overall, the experience, looking back on it, I had a good time. I don't know if I would see it again because it is like 3 hours long, but I could tell my theater really enjoyed this film. I think if you're a big fan of Elvis or music or anything like that, I think you're really going to enjoy this film. If you don't like Baz's style of directing, it does get distracting sometimes. And for me, someone who doesn't like it at all, it definitely was distracting, but it's not as crazy as like The Great Gatsby. It's definitely in here, but there are some moments in this film that make up for that crazy style of directing when it takes its time, lets the movie breathe a little bit, and those are the best parts of this film. And the best part about this film is Austin Butler. Just go see the film for Austin Butler. You won't be disappointed. I'm going to give Elvis 7.5 Davey Daves. There's some great music in this film. Obviously, there's going to be great music. It's fucking Elvis Presley. But there are just so many songs. I'm tapping my foot. I was really getting into it. Yeah, I mean, this is still a fun film. And I really do think if you appreciate music, and especially Elvis, you're going to have a great time. So, Elvis, let me know what you guys thought of it once you've seen it. I'm curious to hear. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Dave Dave's Takes.